Hello and welcome to the show. This week's FailRace versus the community, we were to go racing with A-Class Italian cars. Our first track would be the Bugatti circuit, a track we haven't raced for a while in versus the community. I will be honest, not my favourite of the circuits, but I thought I would give it a go. At the front, a Lamborghini was leading the way with three Ferraris close behind. There was a little bit of a kerfuffle further back. I somehow managed to avoid it in my Lancia. I don't know how I did. A couple of cars had a bit of a bumping duel, and it didn't end quite so well for them, but there wasn't massive problems like there often can be at the chicane the first lap around. The Lamborghini that had led from the start would put a wheel on the curb and spit his car across the track, meaning that it was now the three Ferraris leading the way with a Lamborghini Miura in fourth. The GTO tried to go all the way around the outside of the F50 but couldn't quite make it stick. We know these F50s can be very, very fast in A-Class. We've seen that from the Tuner Thursday leaderboard. The leader in the 355 ran very, very wide. The GTO it was about the only one that got a sensible line through that particular turn and managed to get ahead of the F50. I think he got ahead of the 355 as well. On all the chaos going on through this chicane for the first time. It was complete and utter chaos. This track is more difficult than I remember. Certainly it felt a lot bumpier in my Lance, especially that braking zone into that particular chicane. We have another Ferrari Lamborghini battle. This time it is a 458 trying to find its way past and finding a space as the Diablo gets a big slide on mid-corner. Lamborghini has a look. He thinks about having a dive into the final turn. There's all manner of cars off the track. In the back, I think there's another 355 going for an explore in the sand trap. Not a good place to be going exploring. And then we have the drag race down towards turn one. Turn one here is a scary corner, most definitely not flat out in these cars. I don't know if anybody had a car that was well sorted enough to be flat out through there. I know mine certainly wasn't. There were plenty of people going for a break. And this midfield pack kind of continued battling on for a fair bit of the race. The Diablo would end up a bit wide, have a wheel on the sand, and that would slow him down, allow the two Ferraris to come streaming past. I actually expected out of this battle that the 575 would come flying past the 355 at a straight. Admittedly, the big tank of a Ferrari, perhaps not quite so good through the turns, but I was expecting it to have greater straight line speed, but it just didn't, and it found a curb on the way through there and wasn't really able to do much about the 355. The battle over what was now fourth place was raging between a Lamborghini Miura and the F50. I think the F50 had a little bit of an off. At some point would drop back a bit, but he was now trying to find his way back past this Lamborghini. As I said, we know how good these F50s can handle, and they certainly have got pretty damn good brakes. He's having a look. He can get it stopped quite quickly. Wasn't quite able to get it up the inside on the braking, but the Lamborghini sort of overshot on the exit a little tiny bit, gave the Ferrari an opportunity to dive up the inside, and the F50 could take the position. I have to say, this particular Miura, it could have suffered damage. I don't know. It wasn't particularly fast in a straight line. I was expecting it to be a little bit quicker, but yeah, it couldn't get up with the F50. May well have sustained some damage at some point. I was in third and quite quickly catching up to the back of second place. The Ferrari 355 just not quite as quick off the turn as my Lancia. However, I do not like this particular. I do not do this corner well. I tried to get to the inside, didn't really trust my car, and in the end didn't quite get any sort of manoeuvre done, but I am again fast out of this turn, dive to the inside, trust my Lancia a little bit more through here, may have had a little bit too much of a dive, end up running wide on the exit. There's certainly no advantage to be gained out there as you see the size of the gap that the 355 has pulled on me down there, but again I have the speed in the Lancia. In the end it was the 355 making a mistake, running wide here that would allow me to go past, although I carry a little bit too much speed, and you will notice if I go off the track, especially at that particular corner, even if I'm starting to only go a little bit over the curbs, I will go completely across them and then come back later on, because the curbs here are vicious as hell. They are really not a good place to put your car. So I wasn't going to have run particularly wide that time round, but I chose to do that because these curbs are absolutely terrible, as we are about to witness in the poor Diablo. Yeah, it's not a fun thing going across the curbs. My Lancia is a very, very quick car, but it is somewhat unpredictable, hence why, yeah, some cars are fine with running the curbs, some cars aren't. This Diablo clips the curb on the inside. It's just enough to unsettle it as he tries to go and catch it, sim steering, and round goes the Lamborghini. Amazingly, everybody all managed to avoid him, which is quite impressive. It's a shame it dropped the Diablo out of the... It was a rather large group. I think it was all from 6th place back that were all squabbling over there. Having dropped to 3rd, I think the 355 would have an off, got a little bit of a slide through the chicane that time round, and was now in the clutches of the Lamborghini Miura. Miura trying to have a look past, seeing if he came on a dive. This circuit, there are a couple of decent overtaking places. Through here, though, there's very tough to get an overtake done through them particular corners. Unless the car in front of you, of course, has an off, it's a tough place to get an overtake done. You can get it done into this final turn. The 355 is very wide, a little bit slow off the corner. The Miura has a look up the inside, but again, the Lamborghini is just struggling for speed. It just hasn't quite got the straight line speed, and despite the aero, the 355 at the head of this train can get away. It's another 355 behind as they go up towards turn 1. The Ferrari car has a little bit too much speed on the way through there. That was quite a lot sideways. You don't really want to be doing that, as given the Miura a bit of breathing space. The 575 is now having a look, but can't quite squeeze his car alongside where he wants to be doing it. Again, into this next corner, the lead Ferrari goes defensive. There's not really any space there for the 575. He gets a little bit of a slide, and then he makes the mistake. I'm not sure if he touched the curb or just tried to put too much power down, but again, we have another car falls victim at that particular turn. Not quite as spectacular as off as the poor Aventador on lap 1, but yeah, the 575 would drop back from that group. At the front though, and it was a Ferrari GTO that would go on to take victory. I was setting similar lap times in second, but just made too many mistakes. The GTO would have a bit of an off, I would catch up, and then I would have a bit of an off and I'd fall back. We set, very, very similar lap times at the end of it, but little too many mistakes from my Lancia, and the Ferrari GTO would take victory. My Lancia in second, ahead of a 355. Race number 2 would again go to another circuit that we haven't used a huge amount in versus the community, the Indianapolis track. Turn 1 here is often scary. In fact, it's always scary. You never quite know what you're going to get when we're all barreling down there 3 wide in cars we probably haven't driven at this circuit. And let's face it, most people haven't driven a huge amount of this circuit. Sure enough, there was a bit of a scuffle at turn 1. One car went wide and kind of made a little bit of a mess of things. Again, second race in a row, I did amazingly well. I came from the back of the grid up to about 6th place on the first corner, just managing to avoid everything. This Miura that we're following had more troubles. He got sort of caught up in the middle of the turn 1 shenanigans. He made it through without damage and so on, again, as 2 Lamborghinis would tangle with each other. He survived all of this. Did very well to just dodge all of the carnage that was going on in the background. The Maserati birdcage would get turned around by a Ferrari Testarossa, I think it was. This Miura would simply outdrag the Countach down to the next corner. He would be in the position sort of behind me, but he had a lot more of a crazy start. At the front it was calmer as a Lamborghini Diablo was fighting with another Lancia 037. This Lancia, much more of a handling build than my one, was managed to fend off the Lamborghini through the first part. This is the sort of the tight twisty part of the track. Yes, you do want a good handling car for this little bit, but then comes the really, really long straight, and the Lancia is no match for the Lamborghini. The Lamborghini just soars past. However, the Lamborghini can't take this banked corner flat out. The Lancia can. So despite all of the Diablo's speed, it has to back it off through the banked curb. The Lancia does slightly catch up through there, but there's still the straight line speed of that Diablo was very, very impressive. As a Ferrari GTO playing in the sand a little bit more. This was a rather large tussle over, I think it was perhaps around 6th place or something at this stage of the race. 3 Ferraris and there was a Lamborghini in there for good measure. The Testarossas can't quite decide which side of the track they want to be on. The Ferrari GTO is having a little bit of a sniff up the inside, just tags the back back of the Testarossa. The GTO was, again, much more of a handling car than a straight-line speed car, was struggling down a couple of seriously long straights. The red Testarossa around the outside for one part, that will be on the inside for the next part, though, and as they all go through the chicane, everybody's still trying to swap positions. Blue Testarossa has a look at the inside, but that's a tough place to get an overtaking manoeuvre done there, as unfortunately the GTO would slightly catch out to the Gallardo, I think it was, and went for a spin. A few cars were suffering fairly sizable amounts of damage from the lap 1 antics. The Maserati Birdcage found himself battling with a Lamborghini Aventador. The Birdcage far superior through the turns. To go around the outside of that particular corner is very rare and very impressive. Much better through the corners, but it doesn't really have any straight line speed left in the Birdcage, and now we come on to a really rather long straight. Ignore the GTO, that's just one of the bugged out ghost cars. Again, as we come around the back turn, the Aventador just can't carry quite the same speed that you get out of the Birdcage. It's just not quite good enough handling. But the Aventador is now really catching. He is further back than he perhaps wants to be. Birdcage goes defensive, the Lamborghini goes very brave up against the pit wall, but can't quite get it to where he wants to be, and then doesn't quite have the brakes to get it stopped. And finally the Birdcage has sort of broken that chain of you overtake a car through the corners, then have it blast past you on the straight. Now the Maserati has got far enough ahead. For third place, I was catching up to the handling Lancia with my car was built for Road America. It was the one I used for the Forza All-Stars event. It's a decently quick car, but at times a little bit scary, a little bit inconsistent, but you see the straight line speed it has. It is a pretty damn fast car in a straight line. Maybe not quite as fast as the Diablo that was going around here, but still, it was mighty fast in a straight line. Came from a very long way back there to get that overtake done, if you like. But now we're coming to some twisty corners, and we saw that this guy here has got decent grip, and with me running a little bit wide, I wasn't quite sure where he was. I give him space on the inside, then I get things a little bit wrong. His car's right there, just gets a little slide at an awkward time. That then makes him slow through the next corner, and now comes the Miura as well. The Lamborghini just spies an opportunity. There's a gap there for the Lamborghini to get his car up the inside. The Lancia tries fighting back, but can't really get it far enough alongside. There's a little bit of contact, but at the end of the day, the Miura may have gone a bit wide, but here comes the straight line speed of the Lamborghini. The Lancia, it just lacks the straight line speed, and at a circuit like this, yeah, straight line speed is, sure, you need a car to handle okay, but straight line speed is very important. The Lancia, it's here, it's sniffing around, it's very fast through this particular section. Again, he's having a look up the inside, but even if he'd got the overtake done there, the Lamborghini would simply have driven past him as soon as they came to the straight. That's quite a tough corner to get an overtake done on, because there is a gap briefly left there, but it closes very quickly. Accidents there when the overtakes are going on are quite common. At the front, and things were actually closing up as we headed towards the final lap. A Fiat X19 was leading the way, but was being caught by the Diablo, and the Diablo's impressive straight line speed would see it, well, simply drive past the Fiat, but it had to get far enough away by the time they came to the corner section, because for the rest of the lap, the Fiat was going to be very quick. But the Diablo fends him off through turn 1 and through the next corner. The Fiat gets a big slide and is across the grass. The Lamborghini's not quite sure, gives him space on the inside. The Fiat's still having a look at the Lamborghini, wheel on the grass, drags the car out wide, and yeah, little bit disappointing for the Diablo there, having worked his way up and got the lead, just to put a wheel on the grass and lose all that time. So it would be the Fiat that would go on to take victory in this second race ahead of the Lamborghini Diablo, with my Lancia coming home in third, and a decent sort of number of manufacturers coming on the podium as well, which was good to see. I didn't necessarily expect a Fiat X19 to take a victory. I was thinking they could be a little bit too twitchy and so on, but no, we've had a slightly different victor. Our final race, we would go to the Yas Marina North Circuit, and turn 1 would be quite chaotic for this Diablo that would end up sort of stuck on the outside as everybody drift wide. I think there was a front-wheel drive Fiat in that lot that Yeah, turn 1, front-wheel drive Fiat and sort of going 4 wide. Yeah, the Lamborghini had to go really rather wide there. But he would be glad of this in about 30 seconds as we all pile down towards the hairpin for the first time. While lag hadn't been too bad this evening, it would all go catastrophically wrong here. As I think about 5 cars were wrecked and flung across the track. You see all of the vehicles further back. I took a really peculiar line through the hairpin just to try and avoid the mess of cars that littered the track. About 7 or 8 of us survived that particular incident. Yeah, it was a big lag spike. Very unfortunate there. I would find the dangers of the curves at Yas Marina as the Lancia ahead of me got sideways. I got sideways as well, panicking, trying not to clobber him. I would end up putting my car sort of round a little bit. Yeah, there was very much... I don't think we've had any versus the community that's had more spins than this one. People were just having a lot of it. Admittedly, this track here again, another place with notoriously mean curbs, shall we say. We had a lot of spins in this one. This was the battle at the front, being led by a Delta S4. A Fiat 500 was in there. We've got the Diablos going past a Ferrari that was a little bit out wide. There's a Lamborghini Miura in there as well. There's another Lancia 037 and the Ferrari GTO rounding out this little group. The Delta S4, he too would have an issue with a curb, different curb this time, that would put that car round in the circle. The 2 Lamborghinis were fighting amongst themselves. The Fiat had managed to get a little bit of a breakaway. I'm assuming it's a 4-wheel drive Fiat at the front of this train, but then comes the power of the Ferrari. Very quick car in a straight line. A couple of Lamborghinis were pretty fast as well. But the Fiat is very small, very light, and tends to be pretty good on the brakes. He has a big dive up the inside into the hairpin, can't quite get it stopped. But if you run wide at the hairpin, it doesn't always mean complete disaster. You can keep it on the inside for the final turn. The Fiat, though, takes too shallower a line, runs a bit wide, wheel over the curb, and the Fiat's gone round in a circle. Yet again, everybody manages to avoid it. As I'm amazed the amount of cars that spun out from relatively high position with cars around them, and nobody collected them. The Fiat went round, nobody collected that. The S4 went round, nobody got into the back of that. Yeah, then there was me. I was recovering after there was a bit of a laggy incident between me and a Fiat that would put me round for the second time. I had to go on a bit of a recovery drive. My Lancia was incredibly fast here. In the moments where I wasn't spinning and having issue with curbs, I was going very quickly as I cruise up to the back of the S4. Yeah, there is some serious straight line speed in my 037. It is not a bad handling car either, but you really can't go near the curbs. It's not forgiving. If you get things a tiny bit wrong, it will throw you at a wall. It's a very fast car to drive, but quite a scary one to drive fast. At the front, and it was the Ferrari that was leading the way from a couple of Lamborghinis, and the Lancia was catching up to this group as they were all fighting. They were, slowing each other down a bit, and the top 4 were still relatively close. The Lamborghini, though, was having troubles getting past the Ferrari because of its straight line speed. It could close through these corners, but the second we got to the straight, the Ferrari could pull a really rather large margin, and the Lamborghini could never quite get close enough to really do anything about it. So as we come around the hairpin, sure, the Lamborghini is close and can probably get a quicker run out of this particular corner as the Lancia overtakes the Diablo behind. The Ferrari is now just going to bugger off down the straight, and it could pull a sizable gap to the Lamborghini. But in a few laps' time, the Ferrari would have a slightly shonky run onto the straight, was a little bit slow off the hairpin at the end. Lamborghini would get up alongside and sweep past it around the final turn. Unfortunately for the poor Ferrari, again, take too shallow a line, run wide on the exit, and we have another car pointing in the wrong direction on the start-finish straight. Again, everybody managed to avoid it. It was a little less crowded this time round, but yeah, so many spins. We've raised Yas Marina before, and sometimes the curbs cause chaos, but this one definitely a record for number of spins. Now, as far as the cars that were lag killed, this was the battle of the broken. They'd all been to the pits, repaired their cars, and were back out racing. This was over 9th place between a Fiat 500 and a Maserati, fighting quite ferociously over 9th place. The Fiat, the better handling of the two cars, can carry a little bit more corner speed. You can see the size of the gap it's made to the Maserati coming out of that hairpin. and then we have the speed of the Maserati. The Maserati really very, very fast in a straight line, gets up the inside. He's brave on the brakes with that car. The Fiat, a little bit better. You can see the closing speed the Fiat gets when it comes to the actual corner bit, but it can't quite get back past the Maserati. The Fiat gets a little bit of a slide, and yeah, there's nothing he can do. I got myself up into third and then promptly caused myself some issues across the curve. I got it on two wheels, just put me out of position ever so slightly, and then we get a very, very big slide with the 037. Yeah, that was panic stations for a moment, and now I had the Diablo all over the back of my car. I have to go very defensive into the chicane. Again, I hit a curb on the inside, and that was enough to upset the Lancia. Yeah, suspension on this car, it drove nicely for Road America and nicely at Road Atlanta, but here, no. Here it was phenomenally quick. Again, I get a much better run out of the hairpin. Really very, very quick car, but it does not like the curbs. The suspension will have to be tinkered with if I use it again, so that it doesn't go berserk when I go near a curb. The Diablo does have the outright straight line speed on me. I have a lot more acceleration than it, though. I'm better on the brakes. And as we go into the hairpin, the Diablo just can't quite get his car pulled up in time, and I would get the position back. If I'm paying attention, even on that one there, where I gave the curbs a little bit more berth, I just put a wheel on the outside curb. See the amount it flicked my car sideways for just a tiny run wide? Yeah, quite scary in this car. The Diablo was having a look up the inside again at the first turn, but was just a little bit too far back. As it came to the end of the race at the front, and the Miura would pull out a little bit of a gap. It's certainly the 037 wasn't putting huge amounts of pressure on it, but the Lancia in second place was there or thereabouts. You'll see him in the background as the Lamborghini comes up to take victory. So 3 different manufacturers would take a race win in this one. Lancia 037 would come in a second, with me somehow, despite pointing backwards twice, get my car up into third. My car was phenomenally fast. It really was. I think it was about a second quicker than the rest of the cars lap time wise. It was too many mistakes, too difficult to drive with them curbs. But yeah, the Lancias were good cars. I got 3 podiums in this. Can't complain. Couldn't take a race victory, but did get 3 podiums with my rather scary car. Anyway, that is it for this versus the community. The next one shall be held on Thursday, the 18th of June. We shall be on Forza 5, going to be racing open D-class cars. So you can run whatever you want in D-class. Yes, the cars are going to be a bit slower, but often with the slower class of cars, you can get some really very, very good racing. So yeah, that's what we are going to be running. If you would like to sign up and take part in this event, then you can go to our forums. There will be a link in the description. Find the FailRace versus the community section, and the sign up thread will be in there. But that is it from me. Thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.